Okay, 5th of June 2016, Dan here from Essex, United Kingdom. This is the second instalment of my peach series this year, and I hope you will find this informative and interesting. So let's have a look what we got here now. We've got peach variety Dixie Red. This is an American variety, and I purchased this last year from Blackmore Nurseries, which is a first-class nursery here in the UK. Have a read of that. I urge you guys to check them out if you're interested in purchasing any trees, plants, fruit bushes, etc, etc. Now, peach leaf curl, yes, it's a horrible disease that tends to happen in countries such as the UK and countries with similar or indeed harsher climates. It's when the temperature in the winter drops below 16 degrees and the tree then proceeds to get wet. This then allows the peach leaf curl to thrive, and more often than not will eventually lead to a slow death for the tree, which is why I'm taking some good steps to avoid getting it here. So you can see we've got good crops, and obviously far from ready yet, but we've got no instances of peach leaf curl yet, although I have seen a little bit of sort of discoloration of the leaves, but I'm hoping this will not turn into peach leaf curl. It shouldn't, because I've taken steps which I will go into now. So of course, yes, the temperature in this tunnel goes well below 16 degrees in the winter, and indeed it needs to for trees such as peaches and plants like strawberries in order to achieve dormancy. So look at it here. It's obviously being kept dry due to the polytunnel. Now, obviously a greenhouse is another option, but other options are available. If you grow them outside, you need them up against a south-facing wall or fence, and then in the winter time, sort of November onwards, you can then cover them with like a membrane or a carpet so they don't get wet. And then of course there are things you could spray them with, such as copper sulfate and Bordeaux mixture. These are fungicides. I'm not going to give any information on how to do this. You need to do your own research and get that from a proper sort of qualified source, ideally. So you can see no instances of peach leaf curl. We've got it in a pot down here because, excuse me, this is not the final place for this tree to stay. I'm going to take it up and put it somewhere else. You can see the tree's even trying to escape the pot, look, by putting its roots out in order to get more nutrients. And what I've had to do is, because the tree is getting so sort of top heavy because of the huge crops and encroaching very much into the gangway it was, I've had to tie it up. I just used some heavy duty shoelaces, which I found is quite a good thing to use, and this one will probably end up having to be tied up there as it grows. Now this is the new growth for this year, and my regular viewers have probably heard this too many times now, but for the new viewers I will say that in this here is a growing medium of good quality compost, fish blood and bone, a lot of horse manure, okay, well mixed together, and as you can see this tree is thriving. And another sort of bit of evidence that indicates how well this tree is doing, you see this has put out a little bit of lower growth, which I've noticed that trees affected with peach leaf curl generally don't tend to do too much. They tend to sort of just have spindly little branches as the top, as the lower branches die due to the leaf curl. So they really have nice leaves when they're looking as they should. I wouldn't advocate anyone just getting a peach tree and sticking it outside here in the UK or a country with a similar or even harsher climate, because this was about £35. You don't want to be buying a tree and losing it, particularly if you have one that appears to be, you know, so far at least, although these are far from ready, a heavy cropper. Okay, so that's an update on how peaches can be grown in the UK with success. So basically, in the winter, don't get them wet. If they are outside, cover them up. And of course there is another way of doing it. You could have probably wouldn't want to do it with a tree this size, but if you had a dwarf tree in a pot like this, you could then have the tree outside in the summer months, and then in the winter put it in a garage or indeed a polytunnel or greenhouse. Of course it has to be cold enough where you're going to put it, or even a shed. It has to be cold enough so the tree does achieve dormancy. Dormancy you will generally recognise as when the leaves all fall off on a deciduous tree. Okay, speak soon.